later also for the Senate as well. Babu, we know, is intending to steamroll a motion to make sure that the CS health, she is impeached. Will it fly, given also the political dynamics around it as well? As you can see, even looking at this particular seat of the CS, that particular jacket she's wearing is very telling. It's a green one, right? And we'll leave it for you to decipher. Those are the colors of which party, right, within the National Assembly as well. And this is some of the sentiments that were being imperceptibly being put forth, right, just to leave it for you to decipher as well moving forward. There has been hue and cry on some of the board members who are now officials within the UDA party who will be overseeing some of key functions when it comes to the elections of the party, as you can see it there. And a lot of hesitations has been raised with some of the parties, especially ODM, regarding this latest development. Is it lawful or not? Looking at Article 260 of the Constitution, we shall also be deciphering that with our panelists to just make it very clear and limpid for us if there is any breach of law or not. And the president reaching for power as it is right now, looking at the hop, skip and stops there. This is where people were saying the National Assembly actually is pocketed all the legislators as it is numerically. Do they have the strength even to object any motion that is steamrolled from the other side of the divide as well? Now, this is what also raised eyebrows regarding some of the spending that the government is splurging on. And we're asking, are these missed priorities? Gravy Train, a State House issued a directive last week barring ministries and agencies from procuring promotional items such as calendars, diaries, and umbrellas. And in its latest purge on unnecessary and essential spending, a nation investigation can reveal how officials in both the national and county governments are splurging on non-essential items. This is just some of the things that we were highlighting before we took a short break. Now the doctors are asking for money. Where is the government's priority as well? And also it is in the public domain that State House is up in renovation right now, attaining to almost 2 billion shillings for that renovation. Even for that of the Deputy President seems to be more than actually it was constructed for, 400 million shillings, but now the renovation is going for almost 600 million shillings as it stands. So we were to circle back with Honorable Ruku as well, just to tell us what is happening as we're running up on the doctor strike. Then we go to party politics.
Thank you. I expect that kind of spending or the source of that information to be the Auditor General report. But as it is not Auditor General's report. Therefore, there are some doubts. But if it is the truth, assuming it's the truth, this is something which cannot be defended. And President has been very candid when it comes to the spending of taxpayers' resources. Remember, Kenyans are paying taxes, pain-free. This tax revenue must be spent in the most prudent manner. And if assuming that is the truth, but I think it's not the truth, that cannot be defended by anybody. And those procurement officers or CEOs or whoever is responsible for such kind of a procurement, whether it is the governor's 600 and something thousand chair, whether it is the governor of Oman Bay, a chase car of 600 and I don't know,
522 actually.
522,000.
But why will the procurement officers believe? I mean, if there is requisitions and you've given that there is a need for digital watches and you've justified, and there is need for umbrellas which are heavy duty and you've justified and you've given your specs as well, why would the procurement officer object that?
Financial management is key. It's a very important component. We must be able to do proper financial management of our public institutions and county government. Whether it's in parastatals or county government, financial management must be done in the most prudent manner. And I am sure all these facilities we have, whether it is parastatals or county government, we have financial managers who are employed. They must be able to advise their bosses the most appropriate way, so that we can get it right as a nation. We be able to utilize our resources, and these are scarce resources. Public finance,
yes,
allocation of scarce resources must be allocated in the most prudent, most appropriate way.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't think such a thing can be supported, but I doubt whether the report is the source of that report. The source of that information.
So you don't trust our journalists?
I seriously doubt whether it is truth. If it is the truth, it should be coming from the Auditor General's report. But assuming it is the truth, then we should condemn it, and serious action should be taken against such kind of officers, whether in county government or in national government.
So what do you think about the chess cars as well? Assuming it's the truth. What do you think about the chess cars?
Yes, it is true. Most of the governors have chase cars. Most of the ministers also have chase cars. Something which I think, from where I stand, I don't think is important.
It's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
It's not necessary. It's a question of our financial managers. If you are a minister, if you are CEO of a certain institution, if you are a governor, you have a responsibility of having prudent financial management. Even us as a member of parliament, we have our CDF kitty. We must instill discipline within the constituency office or the fund managers and the CDF committee that we have to be able to utilize these resources we have for our constituencies in the most prudent manner. Financial management is very central. It's a cardinal responsibility.
But we need also to pick out on the current CSS, especially with the motorcades, the chess cars as well, because compared to the previous regime,
yes,
I think I've never seen such amount of opulence, so to speak, and largesse that really comes with this. Previously, the CSS, will only come with with their car, with the bodyguard and the driver. You will have chess car, of, I think even how many, I don't know if you have outriders, but the chess cars are even more than 5.
That's where I want to come.
But just a minute.
Point of information. When we were asking for a member of parliament to be given a car, SRC and the national government at that time gave us how much it would cost to run one car, where the driver is employed, the insurance is paid, the fuel is put, the tires are changed, and the car is serviced for the whole year. It was 24 million.
24 million.
Yes. That is why we took the lesser option. We were actually given the lesser option. They said, we'll buy you a car for 7 million, for 5 million as a one-off. How you deal with it is your business. And we said it was okay. When you have a CS or a county government governor who's driving with 6 cars for the whole year, for me, I calculate that to be 24 million times 6. He's spending 150 million shillings to run himself around from one function to the other. Go to the national government. How many vehicles do you see if the president is in Nakuru? How many ministers do you see running to Nakuru? And each minister has got 4 Land Cruisers on the left. One is in front, and there are Subarus following from behind. Those are about 10 vehicles running with one CS. That is 24 million times 10. That's 240 million. Assume 10 of those guys have got that kind of motorcade. That's 2.5 billion. You will pay the doctors. I mean, we just need to be sensible. We are making assumptions that all this money and the largesse we are living, and the houses people are staying in, and people are buying houses in Karen for 240 million, that is the norm. It is not the norm. This should be an exception. And our people are now wide open. All these things are in the phone. So the president must sit down and say, you know what, this stuff can't go on. From the national government, if there is a clear position on that, you come to the county government, there will be a clear position on that. Because we're just wasteful for no reason whatsoever. I mean, do you really need 10 cars for me to leave Nairobi and go to Kisii and come back to the National Assembly? Do I need 3? What for?
But Deepa, it is important also to mention that there are some dockets within the government which need some of these services. The minister in charge
Defense,
of security,
finance, I know that. I just said there are others.
Need a proper motorcade. Because what the issues is dealing with as an individual, as a minister, are very sensitive and very, issues of national security. These are matters, trying to fight Al-Shabaab and other terrorist activities in our nation is not an issue to be taken rightly. So such a minister should have proper security all round, throughout the day, throughout the night. But there are some other dockets which don't need such kind of services or motorcades, okay? But also, we are seeing this happening in the counties. We are seeing governors. But if you are a governor or you are a member of parliament and you are using your own resources to have a motorcade, even if you want to have 10 cars following you, it's okay. But if you are using public resources, Kenya's taxpayers' money, that is not prudent financial management. And we need to be extremely prudent because as a nation, we must be in a position of turning around this nation. Kenya is moving the right direction so far, but we can be able to make it move faster than the way it is at the moment. And this can only happen if we are very prudent in utilization of our resources. And this is something, the meetings we have attended with the president as a team of us, Kenya Kwanza team, is always very candid when it comes to prudent use of public resources. Whether it is the retreat which we had in Naivasha, whether it is our PG meetings which we have held in the State House, President is categorical. He has authorized a few days ago where about 17 billion was supposed to be paid to different roads, which my friend here, Makari, and other members, both sides, they have come up with public participation loans. And 17 billion was set aside. President said, no, we cannot use 17 billion in a manner that the parliament has come up with. Because he's keen when it comes to financial prudence, because there is some budgeted corruption. We have to be truthful, Deepa. There is some budgeted corruption. Honorable Makari sits in the budget committee, and he understands what I'm talking about.
He did. And I wanted to just ask
President
on that particular
President
note.
has been categorical in a prudent use of Kenya's money. One of example is when his committee, Honorable Makari's committee, came up with 17 billion as a public participation for roads. President asked questions, members could not be able to answer those questions properly. And he said, if anybody is going to pay these 17 billion, then I will fire that person in the morning.
You know the ban, right?
So Magali, yeah.
I would wish that because we are on national television, we talk from facts. If you go to the budget committee, the money which was provided for, in terms of public participation, was only 2.2 billion. That's the money the budget committee provided.
Not the 17.
2 billion only. But what has happened, because of the Kenya Kwanza government, what they are doing, everybody wants to push their own projects into the budget and call them public participation. So it is not the budget committee. It's its own government officials who are doing that. But,
so all Ruku is mischaracterizing that you are part and parcel of passing this 17 billion.
But who originates the budget? It's the departmental committees, it's the ministries. He has sat in the budget committee for many years. Budget committee, he has consolidation. But the question to me, even from where I sit, if we are spending 2.4 billion on chase cars, would it not even better spend 17 billion to do roads, water, schools for this country? Is it not a benefit? If I were the president, I would say spend this 17 billion and stop spending 2.4 billion on chase cars.
Yeah.
And I think to me,
I think there's a road project that was stopped somewhere. Is it in Eldoret that we've seen the president stopping because there's no money?
That's
right?
the thing.
So
the question is, between a road and a chase car, where are we gaining more? So to me, from where I sit,
indeed.
And anytime I talk about budget matters in this country, Dibao, because this is an area of a lot of experience and expertise. Dibao, I can tell you for sure, if this country was serious, matters financial management, we don't need to borrow a single cent from anybody.
Indeed.
We don't.
100%.
Not even a single cent. From anybody, we don't. But look at what is happening. The expenditure. If you look at the expenditure side of our budget, and you look at where we spend our money, and these are issues you are raising, and I'm surprised he says he can't believe your story. This story is nothing new. This is what the General keeps telling us every year. It is official record. Go to the records by Auditor General. The same story, you know.
You can even check, Honorable Macau, you can check the one of flowers.
Yes.
Why are we spending 6 billion buying flowers?
Yeah, I'm
In
serious.
government offices.
These things are
What is
flagged
wrong
by
with
the
us?
Auditor General every year. Look at the kind of money we are spending on things like what we were saying earlier.
The carpet. Yeah, the carpet there is almost
look,
5 million on the carpet.
The KPA
Look
is
at
like
the-
an industrial plant.
Look at this.
Is it what's the nature of this carpet? Is this very fluffy and is
This is what it's inflated costing, so that at the end of the day, people get their
cut out of
the
it.
cut. And that's what we are saying. If we want to be serious as a country, and when I say this, I say it with a lot of, it pains me. Because this is our country. When it comes to matters Kenya, it has nothing to do with the political divide. This is our country. The ball at the end of the day, the loans we are accumulating, you pay them, your grandchildren will pay them,
And your great
and it will be
grandchildren.
respective of your political affiliation. So we are saying, why can't we as a country sit down? How I wish, instead of the national conversation talk about how to sort out our doctors' issues, we could have a national conversation to discuss about how we are going to streamline our expenditure as a country. I don't understand why a minister, somebody who's just a normal civil servant, a minister is a normal civil servant. They are not politicians like us. Where would they get enemies from? Now, Sige can have enemies because he was fighting against somebody politically. Somebody who was practiced from a university, who was a lecturer, and he becomes a CS. He has no enemy at all. And by the time he lands in that office, he has security over 10 askaris. He has 4 security cars following him. What is wrong with this country?
That's what I'm saying.
What is wrong with this country?
Comparison with the previous.
So to me, we are saying...
When we
why
had
can't
this coming even for
Yes.
interviews here in the media houses, I never saw such sort of
I want to give you an
opulent
example.
and
A good
legis.
example. We have some from our area who are CSs who lost the elections. By the time they were campaigning, they were even walking to go look for votes. Because walking, they could not even afford to go and look for votes. So, which means that if you are able to walk even night to go and look for votes, it means I'm not threatened in any way. And you're not the means of internal security. And by the way, even if you are the means of internal security, Matiang now, how many soldiers does he have today? Is he having chase cars? Matiang is a common one injury loitering in the streets.
Yeah.
So the thing is, these things we want to boast into ourselves as a country. Our country is so poor to live the kind of life we are living. Let the president come to reality that these ministers, give them 1 car,
Yes.
give them security, maximum 1 additional car. And I would suggest instead of a car, give them a rider. So that a soldier who is also armed.
Indeed.
Let me
That
chip
is
in
we'll be
also
having this
there.
country.
Yeah. So we don't need circulars coming from also Felix
we don't need-
Koske,
What are the circulars for?
regarding controlling how people will be going out, the entourage that we've been seeing going even for the climate change conferences and summits. We need to begin here, not even going outside. Right?
Dibal,
we need to have circulars.
Dibal, I totally agree with Ibran from this table that we need to reduce on how we spend, especially on very unnecessary
Things.
comforts and stuff. And this is not a strange conversation. Remember, the president has said it without a number that, look, we need to have austerity measures on how we spend. Remember the other day he issued a directive to the effect that even when you are traveling outside the country, there is normally an advance team that goes ahead of whether it's a minister or even his office. That advance team was completely torn off. If it is also a minister, instead of going with 5, 6 plus, it had to be reduced to one person and approved prior to traveling.
Exactly.
Honestly speaking, the president has got that desire to bring down the cost of expending. What we need to do is to make sure that we own up as now leaders in our various capacities, whether it is a cabinet secretary or whether it is an elected leader, so that at the end of the day, the pronouncements that are made by the president in a lot of desire to make sure that we bring down the cost of spending unnecessarily, because as he said yesterday, we can't spend that which we do not have. If only then all of us were to say, this is the position that the president has taken, we also support. We will not be where we are. We will not be having that discussion about our governors buying seats worth over 500,000 shillings. What for? How many hours do you sit on that seat per day, for instance? If you are someone who is desirous of working for the people, if you report, like I do in my personal office, to do your personal stuff, report at 6 a.m. By 8 a.m., you've basically done the basics of that particular day. Another 1 hour, small meetings, you take off. For a governor who is working for his or her people, they don't need that kind of a seat. You don't need a carpet to have a boardroom.
Senator, is in this chair comfortable?
This is very comfortable. It can comfortably.
Why do you need a better chair than this?
No, there are rising cases of backaches. There are rising cases of hypertension.
You can also have
You need to be padded. The ergonomics of the office and the chair are very paramount, right?
No, but it doesn't justify abuse of public resources.
Senator Sigay, point of information. Dibal, 2 weeks ago, our county governor women leaders traveled to the US. Somebody who was in that delegation told me she was shocked beyond comprehension that these ladies were walking into designer shops and somebody was buying clothes, jewelry, and everything, including perfumes and bags, and they were carrying not less than 15, 17 bags each. People were spending $400,000, $200,000 to shop.
On designer bags.
On designer bags.
Designer perfumes as well, colognes.
Those are the things. Who bewitched us? I mean, why is it that somebody must go? I mean, when somebody is traveling abroad for the government function, we understand 2 people are good enough. Why? Because when you go like to the UK, there are already experts who are government trained officers who will guide you. You don't have to carry 12.
And that was actually now the basis of the president's directive that we do not
so he must
go
start,
with
he must start,
plus people.
Senator, let the president start firing people who don't listen to his instructions.
All right.
Therefore,
But it has been the president.
But it's a good to...
No. It's
the statement he has made is very heavy.
Which one?
That we have Kenyans delegation which has been doing shopping of $400,000.
Yes, it's a fact.
Huge amount of money.
But isn't that
isn't
that the case? That is not new. We've had also some of the CSs here who are donning, some suits that with 10 million shillings and and watches as well.
I want to differ with that.
And it's not been the first time. Even I think with the previous.
That statement is not factual. Probably they are rich.
But he's here to confirm because he has been there.
I will tell you.
He has been told expressly.
Honorable Ruku, when a colleague tells you that I traveled with this group and we were in New York, and the amounts of money that I saw being given out by our women leadership who traveled for the function to the UN.
It's called the CSW.
All right, the CSW. But the amounts this lady was traveling with this group so that these people
government official?
No. the governors.
Ah, okay. That's a different...
Don't be too much.
No, that's a different...
Listen to me. The 7 leaders who traveled.
Okay.
Yes.
And the lady who told me, who gave me this information said it was not all the 10 because some 3 or 4 were completely embarrassed.
Yes, it is true.
That here are people carrying 14 bags from Kani in New York, 42nd Street. 14 bags. Even those Muzungus were looking and saying, hey, in Africa, what is happening?
Yes. No, it is true. It's true, Depa, that county government resources are not used or spent in the most appropriate way. We need serious, we need to look at the way financial management of our county government is done. This is something which needs to be seriously evaluated. There is serious misuse of our resources as far as county government is concerned.
Allow me to just to butt in a bit and ask you, because we've had the president really talking about even maybe moving forward we should consider a woman running mates, and we've had also majority leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, saying that women they have the conscience. They cannot be in the splurge and the spending spree that we've seen so far. It is better to elect a woman governor or a woman leader for that matter. Yeah. So, but just going with what you're seeing here, do you think this really flies in the face of what he was trying to advance?
I think there is some aspect of politics in there, as far as the statement of the president that we need running mate. As far as remember, it was during International Women's Day week. It was that celebration.
So it was politically correct to say it then?
Yes, it was.
So it was all populism?
I don't want to use that one, but the one
it was all good. It was good politics.
It was good politics.
So that's what I want to say. What we need is meritocracy. Is whoever who is the running mate, or she qualifies or he qualifies to be a running mate of the candidate who is running for the president. And are the politics, are the numbers, are they well aligned? If they are well aligned, so be it. Regardless of whether you are a woman coming from Kisumu or Mombasa or wherever, so long as the numbers are aligned and whoever is running mate is competent enough, then there's no issue. So that's why I think the issue of truth and gender rule in Parliament might take some time to be fulfilled.
Thank you.
Because it must be within.
I want us just to wind up on that issue. We discussed the party politics briefly.
I just wanted to say something with regards to what Honorable has just commented on that issue about women leadership.
Yes.
And also the political statements that we listened across the board sometimes with regards to the truth and gender rule, the leadership of women, and in the context of what the Honorable Senator, my neighbor, has said about the challenges that we have now so far experienced in the management of our county governments in terms of corruption and abuse of resources. About the women leadership, page 9 of the Standard talks about drama festivals kick off amid concern. Boys have been left out. The boy child. In as much as we're talking about all these stories, we must contextualize that where we are today, things are not good for the boy child. Such that even though the president could have had a very good statement to say during that World Women's Day, we must now begin to have a conversation on how do we protect the status of the boy child. I'm looking at the statistics here and it's worrying. Out of 23 schools that qualified for the national event, 17 are girls. 17 of them are girls. That tells you we have concentrated so much on supporting the girl child and we have completely lost. Forget about this table where we've got 5 men sitting. The people who are doing a lot of decision making in other sectors are devoid of the boy child. So let us look at merit. Let us look at also the issues that regard how concentration can be done to the boy child. I was in Narok yesterday and the conversation is the same. So I do not buy that.
All right. So that means also when that particular report from that particular task force
Yes.
on gender, it will not really see the light of day.
I sit in the
because you
joint
need the
committee
affirmative action of what?
Yes.
50 legislators?
Yes,
Yeah?
I sit in the joint committee of the National Assembly, Senate, Justice and Legal Affairs committees that is going to be dealing with framework on implementation of the National Dialogue Committee. And we have had the multi-sectoral report from the CS that was headed by the CS, Aisha Jomo, with proposals now on constitutional amendment towards the 2/3 gender rule. It is a conversation that definitely will have to be given the attention it deserves. Because other than just saying we need the 2/3 gender rule, we must discuss beyond that.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be something that I would invite you, Dibal,
Yes.
to allow us in one sitting on this table to have that serious engagement.
I think Gladys Bowles-Cholet was on it when she was still, I think, for the first time, women rep.
Yes.
She attempted to actually come up with this debate that even for the women rep positions that have been reserved for the parties, that should be not through the affirmative action. Okay, nowadays we know you go to the ground, but she was saying, this affirmative action, we should do away with it. You should fight like any other person for those competitive politics and meritocracy at the end of the day. But I think she pulled back after she got so much flack from the fellow women as well. Yeah,
we should head there.
She soft pedal on it. Good. I want us just to look at the party politics before we move on. And Article 260. Maybe we can begin with you, Honorable Makali, just briefly on it, because I can see also we don't have time to debate it a lot, so that we can get the sentiments of everyone.
Public officers.
Yes. Regarding public officers and the letters that we do have, especially from the public service, not really the UDA party officials that were recently appointed by the president. That is Anthony Mwaura from KRA and Joy Mudivo, right? Could we begin from there? Is there any breach of law looking at Article 260 when it really talks about the public officers and who are the public officers?
And what I would want to say
can we get it from the lawyer first?
No, let me just give it. That's why I was saying I will leave the legal issues to interpretation to the lawyers. But what I wanted to do, let's look at the spirit of the Constitution and why that is important. Libal, the public service by nature is supposed to be neutral. That when I get to any public service office to be served as a Kenyan, I don't want to find anybody there who starts thinking about I'm a Wiper member of parliament, or I'm a UDA member of parliament, or I'm a DP member of parliament, or I'm for the Kenya. So that what we are calling for is neutrality in the public offices. And the issue is even the lawyers coming to give us interpretation, because I've had different interpretation. The most important question is, can somebody who leads a party as a party official and sitting in a public office, as either a board member or as a chair of a board or even as an officer of that public office, can that person operate in a the most effective neutral way, so that when I'm seated there, I will not think that I also chair the election board of UDA. If that can be answered, I'll be competent. But I think the spirit of the Constitution was that once you join the public service, forget about party politics. And if you want party politics, then forget about public service. To me, that's the basic. So if the lawyers can have their own debates because they lack arguments, they can argue on nature. But if they are able to answer that question, I'll be on my try. Thank you.
All right. State officer.
Yes.
State organ, can we get it deciphered for us? Is there any breach of law? Let's begin with you.
Without blinking an eye, there isn't. There is no breach of the law, because this issue has been litigated up to the highest court in the land, and the Supreme Court has defined who a public officer is. That is a fact.
When was this litigated? Okay, just for my knowledge as well. Huh?
I'll give you cases. I'll quote for you cases. The Katiba case, the Katiba Institute case, that one all there to the Supreme Court. They define who a public officer is. Look at Section 6.
Section 6?
Section 6, that's not the Constitution, of the Kenya Revenue Authority Act. Section 6 specifically says that the chairperson of Kenya Revenue Authority must not be a public officer. And that person must not have been a public officer 12 months prior to his appointment as the chairperson of Kenya Revenue Authority. So Mr. Mwaura
He's not a public officer.
was not a public officer 12 months before, and he's not a public officer. He cannot therefore be a public officer the moment he's appointed as a chairperson. And of course, we all know what role does a chairperson do. So,
Okay. How did we characterize
so
it?
then-
He's not a public officer.
So then, I then say there is no breach of the law by that appointment.
No, but
of him
let
as
me
the
just follow through what you're telling
Has he
us.
not been paid through public resources?
Right. Was he vetted?
The
by,
same-
no. Was he vetted by the National Assembly?
The same court.
Just answer my question.
Ibal,
No, just answer me. Was he vetted?
This,
I don't think the chairs
Okay,
vetted.
listen.
Eh?
Chairs are not vetted.
Chairs are not vetted.
yes, I'm answering your question.
Okay,
The
okay.
same courts have equally answered your question. Chairs are not vetted, number one. That is why the appointment is left to the discretion of the president, right? The same courts have also said certain public institutions, including government agencies, do generate their income. And therefore, largely the payments out of these towards the chairpersons and members of the board do not form the fund from public coffers. And so when I say it has been litigated before and decisions have been made by the courts, I mean it. I'm not mincing the words. Therefore, even when you look at, you know what the chairperson earns of a government agency, a chairperson earns 80,000 before tax.
Per month.
It comes to 53,000. So it's only a matter of the discomfort on the part of some of our political competitors that, look, when he goes to KRA, he will not be fair, honest, and efficient as far as that office is concerned, merely because he is a chairperson of the dispute National Elections Board of the UDA.
party.
Yes. So Mwaura fits to be the bill. I wanted to give you the case number so that you read
Please,
in the fullness
please,
of time.
please.
In the case of Katiba Institute, High Court petition number 331 of 2016. Katiba Institute and Africa Center for Open Governance.
Just a moment. Katiba Institute.
I'll share with you the judgment. Don't worry.
Yes.
I have read it. Yes. Katiba Institute and versus the Attorney General and the Public Service Commission. That case is there, and it's a 3-judge bench. They gave out very descriptive definition, and at paragraph 68 of that judgment, they said that to answer the first issue in this petition, we find and hold that positions of chairpersons and members of boards of state corporation and parastatals are not offices in the public service. Paragraph 68. They did go through what does the law says, what does the constitution says, defined it and came up with that definition. And therefore, it's a matter of asking ourselves. The other aspect, of course, which I wanted to share with you is Section 6 of the KRA Act. That defines, it gives us an understanding of who the chairperson is, what are the qualifications, what are the roles of the board, and who is qualified to be elected as a member is to be nominated or appointed as a member of the board. And so the Supreme Court also, in all of the cases, the case of Frederick Outer versus Jared Odoyo Okello and 4 others. This is a 2014 case. This is where they adopted the definition of a public officer. And so this is not one of those positions that we should struggle to define. Let's leave politics aside. Let's stick to what the law would expect us to do. And that is the position. So as to whether or not UDA or the president made a mistake by appointing Anthony Mwaura as the chairperson of the National Elections Board is illegal or not, it is outrightly lawful, and we cannot deny a qualified person to run an office as long as there is a possibility of him or her performing the roles of that office.
All right. Honorable Onyonka, is the law clear for you now?
As far as I'm concerned, there are certain issues which I look at politically, and there are others that I look at legally, and there are others sometimes, and most of the time, I look at commonsensically. The basic interpretation is very simple. You have a chairman whom you have rewarded with that position, who's going to be head of KRA. And like my brother has said, very clearly, this constitution, and even if the ruling and the judgment came out the way it does, this constitution had, if I can call it, the spirit of the law, the spirit of the constitution. What was it intending to do? When you go through it, as far as I'm concerned, there are certain positions which you should allow politics to stay away from, or vice versa. You see what I'm saying? In other words, I'll give you a very simple example. If I have a CEC of some county, all right, and he was the treasurer of a political party, what happens? Right, between the services that he's supposed to provide to members of the county as county assembly first, then the community a whole, if it's the county of Kisii, where I come from, and his engagement with the actions of his political parties, is it going to be seen reasonably that there's fairness and reasonableness in the actions and decisions he's going to make pertaining to his politics? And because the public service, like Honorable Dr. Makali has said, is supposed to provide services to everybody. What happens to me, and I'm walking into an office and I find this man has got his title there, CEC Health, and below that says Treasurer, ODM Party. I mean, there's certain things which we should accept commonsensically, that there are certain things that we shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. That is I want to call it, there's a word I'm looking for. Kuna tabia ya kisiasa tunahitaji Kenya. There's a way we should be handling our politics. But it looks that everything in our country is decided and determined politically. How I wish that all these decisions were determined economically first. When you have this chair of KRA, what does it do to his mindset and his determination in his operationalization? For me, as an ordinary Kenyan who is most probably politically like crazy, who's making a lot of noise, and then this guy decides to send me a note that I've not paid my taxes for 3 years, will I then go to court and say he made that decision unfairly because he has a political what? A political wing, a political suasion towards a given directions? Then my feeling is it's just like ambassadors. Our ambassadors that we have, if they are serving whichever country they are, right now President William Ruto is the president. They will serve him, yes, and the president, but more so, they are serving the country called Kenya. We must never allow officers to think politically when they are given certain responsibilities. And then that is my feeling generally.
Right, thank you. All right, let's hear from Honorable Ruku, then we give our headline thoughts. I see also the sun is upon us.
The power, I think I don't have, I'm not well suited to comment on UDA matters. I'm a member of Democratic Party, which is in coalition with UDA to form Kenya Kwanza. So I'm a bit conflicted.
But what will DP do?
Would you do the same?
What will DP do?
That's a very good question. I think Senator here has read the law. Court makes law. A judgment we get from our courts, sources of law. And therefore, there is a judgment which was done as far as the issue is concerned, and we go by that. It means, therefore, UDA is not in contravention of any law as far as appointment of Chair Anthony Mwaura to be the chairman of election board, UDA election board. Remember, the chairman of Parastatal are not 8 to 5 job. They are not even executive. Even Mongoso outlined clearly the number of meetings which chairman should have in a year. And
that is the Mongoso code.
Yes. Therefore, it's not an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. job. It's not executive. It's to chair policy, to guide, to have a strategic plan for our institutions, for the chairman. Therefore, I can't say that Mwaura will be totally conflicted as far as performing on doing his law as the chairman of KRA.
But you've been given the optics as well.
Yes.
The optics politically does not augur well. Yeah,
and that's
from
why
your
I'm saying,
estimation, yes.
As a member of Democratic Party,
You're not in a position to speak for UDA.
I'm not in a position to speak for UDA. I cannot speak for...
But it's a coalition. You can speak for the coalition. This is a coalition.
Yes, a coalition. Matters concerning coalition, as far as government is concerned, I have a clear mind.
All right.
Matters party.
Fantastic.
UDA party.
I get your point.
I leave it to the senator,
Fantastic.
who is a member of UDA.
Let's get your closing remarks, beginning with you. 2 seconds, or not 2 seconds, 30 seconds, to be realistic.
Thank you, Dipa. I think we have taken control of our nation as far as economic progress is concerned. Things are moving in the right direction so far. We have seen the rebound of Nairobi Stock Exchange. We have seen a downward trend on inflation, which is a key indicator. We have seen our currency is stabilizing against all local currencies and all, as well as dollar. We are just having teething problems, which the president is keen to address.
Thank you.
If the president has addressed very serious matters when he came to office, these teething problems
will be addressed.
Thank
you.
In course of time.
Thank you. Honorable Sige, your closing remarks, briefly.
Thank you, Dibal. As we begin this week, I want to urge all our brothers and sisters in the medical field to give a consideration and accommodate the request by the president that let's accept that we have a situation and deal with the issues which we can deal with within the context of the offer that has been made by the government, so that we resume work, support Kenyans, because as we've said, a life lost is lost and gone forever. We can't. But we can always agree to get in arrears our entitlements going forward.
Thank you. Right. Honorable Makali.
Yeah, very briefly, before I give 2-word concluding remarks, I wish UDA is not short of people who can take the position of Maura as the director of elections, or push somebody else to KRA chair, in line with what he was saying. But I want to request the Kenya Kwanza government. Actually, I want to ask the president to open doors for negotiation with the doctors. Let's have those doors open.
Thank you.
So that we don't have more lives lost.
Thank you. Honorable Onyonka, your final remarks?
I think for me, for the last most probably 6 or 7 months, we've talked about austerity, how the government needs to close in on the extravagance and the wastage that is going on. Our country is not doing badly. Some of the fundamentals are coming back into place. You notice the dollar is not doing badly. Things are moving, all right? But again, even when the UDA government is moving so much and you see some positive development, then you have this fertilizer thing coming up, then you have scandals coming up, then you see people. We just need to be a little bit more sensitive.
Thank you.
Our people expect us to do better than we are doing.
Fantastic. Right, thank you, gentlemen. I really do appreciate many issues to discuss, but I thank you for the input that's very incisive and precise that you've given us this morning. We hope all things will turn out for better, especially with the stalemate with the doctors as well. Now that the government or the president has spoken about it, what is the way forward? We are yet to see what will be the outcome. I thank you very much for being here in the morning, and thank you for your valued company as well. News Diary is up next.